I'm finally done with the first edit. Welcome back to Writer's Theory. I'm James Winterthorne, and I finally finished the first phase of editing on the novel that I've been writing here on YouTube. I've spent at least the past several weeks trying to figure out a good way to automate, or not automate, but to increase the efficiency of my editing process. So I've been using ChatGPT. I've been uploading portions of the manuscript and asking it to edit it to give me an output for things to look for. So I did that with the entire book, and I just got through all of the edit suggestions that it made. And so it probably took me an extra week longer than I thought it would, but it was still a very efficient process. And I did just finish that portion of it, and I'm just now wrapping up. I also wanted to go through and clean up all of the suggestions that Microsoft Word is suggesting, at least review them. So for today's video, I have the remaining portion of the AI edit suggestions and a portion of what Word suggested that I clean up. So I'll share those with you here. But it feels good. I with an hour a day and just a couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, completed a very significant portion of work and getting this book ready for publication. So I'm very pleased with the process. Of course, I always want this to go faster than it does, but it is just a process. And when you're going to write a novel and you're going to get that thing out there for consumption and for people to read, the editing portion just takes a significant effort. So I'm just right in the middle of it. Let's get right to the sessions that I have to share. And I'll share those with you, and then I'll share what I'm going to do next after I have finished this portion now. So let's get right to it. So I have two things to share here. This first one is these are the edits from ChatGPT. This is what it's suggesting. So again, it's giving me the citation. It's telling me what the original line was, telling me what I should adjust about it or what it's suggesting, and then it also makes a recommendation about ways to make that look or to read better. I probably accepted, I'd say, about 75% of the suggestions. Either that they needed adjustment and I adjusted them. Sometimes I would take the recommended sentence and add and use it, or I would just rewrite it myself. Sometimes, if you see where I do a dark gray highlight, I know it's going pretty fast, but I use a dark gray highlight when I don't agree with its suggestion, because sometimes it wants to simplify the text, and I appreciate the brevity of what it's suggesting, but a lot of times it takes what I think is the style out of the writing, and certainly when it comes to the dialogue for certain characters. So if it wants some brevity in dialogue, I make sure that it's more from a readability standpoint versus just trying to simplify how a character talks. So the ChatGPT, the AI portion of this edit is done. I may, and we'll see how my read through goes, do something like this again with ChatGPT, or maybe even another AI model. I don't know yet. If my read through is very smooth and I don't feel like there's a lot of changes to make, I may not go through a process like this again. But if I think there's still a lot of cleaning up to do, I may still go through a process like this again. We'll see. I just don't know yet. But I'm pleased that this portion is done. After I did this, I went through, again, the suggestions from the word processing program. So I'm going to share those with you now and share my thoughts on this phase of it. This portion is a wonderful example of why you should not just accept changes that are offered from, in this case, Word based. Like you should definitely read anything that you make a change to, and don't just accept what it's telling you. So this first portion here, I went through the spell check. There were very few. I did find some. Most of these misspelled words they're not misspelled. They're just non-English words, or or it's dialogue where I opted to have the misspelling kept in the dialogue, where I didn't feel like it detracted from what was being said. So those were all. There wasn't a lot of misspellings, which is good. And so now in this, you can see here, I'm going through all of what it finds to be grammatical issues. And there are some, certainly. But most of it, Word just didn't either. What I'm writing, it didn't make sense of. Like, it couldn't process the sentences clearly. And so it makes odd and incorrect suggestions. Regularly, it's seeing quotation marks after multiple sentences of dialogue, and it wants me to delete the closing quotation mark, which it does it consistently. So if you know what that is, or what setting I can adjust where it will pick that up, I'm very curious to know. But the grammatical check from Word, there's stuff in there that does need to be corrected. So I'm glad that I'm finding it. But maybe more like 70% of the suggestions, I'm not taking. Either it's a style choice, or Word is making the incorrect suggestion, where if I make that change, I make the text, the grammar, the punctuation, whatever it is, incorrect, which is really odd. And I'm not trying to become a Microsoft Word expert and go into the settings and adjust them so it comes out the way that I want. I'm just trying to edit a manuscript in an efficient manner. So it's just interesting, this experience of using these programs and seeing what their outputs are and what their suggestions are. It does help. It's better to have it than not, but me in this case, I need to be very aware of what it's suggesting, and that I'm making the appropriate choice to accept that change, or rewrite that change, or to not at all. So I have to read very carefully what it's suggesting and make a decision at that point. I could see this being challenging if you don't have a firm grasp on grammar and punctuation. I have a firm enough grasp, but I'm not a grammar expert. Like, my English degrees were in composition and creative writing more than they were in structure and grammar and linguistics. So I still rely on these programs for these things. And if a writer is approaching a story and doesn't fully understand that you need separate clauses, that punctuation works in a certain fashion, and the program is making incorrect suggestions, well, that's just really frustrating. So really gonna have to figure out the best way to do that. And maybe there's other programs that are just better at it. Like maybe Grammarly would work really well here. I know I mentioned before making a video about this, and I will in the future. I just really have to think about what I want that comparison to look like. So that's me rambling about these programs and how they're affecting my editing process here. I'm leaning very heavily on these programs to make this efficient. But the next phase of this process is one where it's all brain power now. I am going to print the manuscript and then start reading and marking it up. This way, I'm reading it, I'm trying to understand it, I'm going to see all of it, and I'll write down where I find places where I need to change things, maybe where I need to expand, where I need to cut things. So I'm very much looking forward to having a physical copy of this manuscript printed, and I'm going to start reading it, and I'll share, of course, my progress in that phase of this project. So thanks for being here all the way through. If you've been watching my videos when I drafted this novel through this editing phase and on to the next editing phase, and hopefully I'll be in a spot where I'm considering like formatting and then getting ready to publish this book. I'm very excited to share it with you. If you're enjoying this content and you want to see how this goes for me, this editing phase and the whole publishing phase, please like and subscribe, and I will gladly share my progress with you in the next video. It's all brain power now.